They're young, fit and keen to work, and until recently they were in high demand. Now it's been revealed dozens of Tasmanian trades apprentices have been dumped part way through their course. Others who have been lucky enough to finish are completing their training without a job at the end. Employers say they've been left with no choice, with construction work slowing and tax incentives to hire apprentices removed. It comes as grim figures show a jump in Tasmania's unemployment rate to 6.6%, the highest in the nation and the worst figures in years. That's creating even more uncertainty for job seekers in an ever-tightening market. Tamara Glumac talked to some young tradies facing uncertain futures.
It used to be a pub packed with young tradies keen for a beer after a hard day's work. But these days, the number of apprentices meeting up at Hobart's Wagon and Horses Hotel is dwindling.
In the last 12 to 15 months, we see less and less of them, less young ones coming in all the time. Mainly, a lot of them can't find work, so either they haven't got the money or they're going away to find it.
I can't believe they're not keeping you on.
Chris Lamond is 2 weeks away from finishing his electrical apprenticeship with Aurora. Then he'll be out of a job.
We're going through a restructure pretty much at the moment, so I can understand why they've got to lay off a few people. But I was just hoping that some of the larger contractors around town might pick up some of the work that Aurora might be doing.
The 22-year-old says finding work in Tasmania is difficult.
If I can't find anything down here in Tassie, I'll probably do a bit of fly-in, fly-out work from WA or Queensland. I wish I could stay here, but it doesn't look like I will be because there's just not the supply and demand, really.
25-year-old Chris Barwick finished his apprenticeship as a cable joiner with Aurora last month.
I was the only apprentice in the state for the last couple of years doing the actual apprenticeship itself, and yeah, I was very surprised at the end of it there was no work for me.
He's picked up casual work with another company but hasn't ruled out going interstate. It's a similar story in the building sector where some apprentices have been laid off mid-course. Second-year building apprentice Joe Willey lost his job just before Christmas. He wasn't alone. Another 20 apprentices were retrenched.
It's pretty hard. I really enjoy the company I've been working for, started my apprenticeship with. They're really great. I've got great mentors, and yeah, it's just real sad I have to go.
The 20-year-old has been looking for work interstate.
I'd really like to finish my apprenticeship, and at the moment it doesn't really seem possible to continue it in Tassie.
The state's Construction Industry Training Board says it's a common story. Dozens of apprentices have lost their jobs since late last year.
But we understand that out of the record numbers that we've had in the last couple of years, anything up to about 150 have been laid off in the last few months, and we're expecting to see a much lower intake of apprentices into this training year.
Unions have been inundated with calls from those who've been retrenched.
You're not alone. We've actually seen quite a number of apprentices in the same situation as you. They really are devastated knowing that there's something that they love to do and somebody else is telling them, doesn't matter how good you were or how good your grades were, you're just simply not going to finish.
They don't know what the future holds. They are absolutely devastated. After committing to a discipline like an apprenticeship, which is a very serious discipline, in an industry that's a dirty, hard, tough industry like the building industry, hot, sweaty in this weather, freezing cold in the wintertime, to give that sort of commitment and to then be dumped simply because there's no further activity out there or for political reasons is just unbelievable.
Unions blame an industry downturn on the end of national stimulus funding and the state government's decision to scrap payroll tax rebates for big companies that hire apprentices. The Premier Lara Giddings says there's no hard evidence yet that shows the impact of the removal of the rebate, but it will be monitored.
And that is a 6% impost on the wage bill, which is proving to be a deterrent to a lot of the large employers.
Okay, you're provided with a student information brochure.
Construction company Fairbrother is one of the state's biggest employers of apprentices, normally hiring about 25 new ones each year. For the first time in 35 years, it won't be hiring any. It blames the loss of the payroll tax rebate for its decision.
The impact of the removal of the payroll tax is, to our business alone, $248,000 per year, based on the 110 apprentices we had last year.
Energy company Aurora last year cancelled the 2012 apprentice intake, but says it intends to take more on later this year. A spokesman says most apprentices have been re-employed within Aurora. Others have been given assistance to find jobs elsewhere. September,
October last year is usually the time when you would see this year's apprentices being advertised for. There was literally no advertisements in the paper anywhere in Tasmania, and we know of a handful that have been put on, but it is literally a handful.
Enrolments for pre-vocational training have dropped dramatically. In 2010, more than 100 first-year electrotechnology apprentices were studying at the Skills Institute. This year, there are just 30.
I think we're getting to desperation stakes. In simply a 24-month period, we've actually seen a decline of nearly 75% of the intake of apprentice numbers going through training at the Skills Institute. That is huge by anybody's imagination.
Skills Tasmania figures provided to the union show that since 2007, the number of first-year building apprenticeships has fallen by 35%. In that time, the total number of building apprentices has dropped by nearly 400. Unions say an even bigger drop-off is expected this year and warn there will be dire consequences.
If we don't do something to arrest the decline that's happening now, we're going to see ourselves in the years of the early 90s where we had such a massive skills shortage. We are going to have nobody coming through into the future to run these trades for us.
If we don't maintain the replacement and the steady supply of new skills, then when we need them in the future, they won't be there. And of course that means that we lose quality and of course without skilled labour the prices go up, so everybody loses.
It's a scenario these young tradies aren't prepared to wait around for.